my friends, and happy Thursday. Today we are going to be making a braided boho bracelet. Try to say that 3 times. So this is what it looks like. I have 2 colorways, and it's a 3 times wrap. So we're going to wrap it around our wrist, and it's very, very comfortable because, of course, the braided leather is flat. So let me show you.
Ellen says hi, Rita and everyone.
Hi, Ellen, and thank you so much for joining us today. So the leather, it's actually here. Let me show you the leather. I have it right here. It is pre-braided for us. We don't have to braid it at all. So this is a very nice shortcut. And we're going to take this braided leather and we are going to make a 3 times wrap.
Fonda says good evening, everyone. Happy rainy Thursday.
Hi, Fonda. Thank you, and happy rainy Thursday to you as well. I am just so happy. I got 2 walks with my little doggy because I was concerned that we wouldn't get to walk at all. I guess we're expecting a lot of rain in the next few days.
Trudy says hello, all.
Hi, Trudy, and thanks for joining us.
Kathy H says hello, everyone.
Hi, Kathy.
And Lorraine says hi, Irina, Tony, and everyone.
And hello, Lorraine. I'm so glad you guys joined me this rainy day. So here are my 2 different colorways. And of course, this is all very turquoise themed, but in very different ways. So I have an earthy turquoise, very rustic turquoise. It sort of makes me look, or actually it makes me feel a little bit like I'm about to ride a horse. It's that brown of a saddle. You know, that's really all I can think of. So it's very rustic. And then we have just about the opposite of that. And I think the reason I was really drawn to this is because of my recent trip to Italy and Greece and the beautiful Mediterranean. And so to me, this could look like Caribbean or Mediterranean or maybe Florida.
Cheryl says hi, all. Great to finally catch you during a live again.
Oh, yay. Hi, Cheryl. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Allie says hi. Glad to see you, Irina and Tony. Cute bracelet.
Oh, thank you so much, Allie. And so nice to hear from you.
Kim C says hi, Irina, Tony, Lauren, and all.
Hi, Kim, and thanks for joining. All right, guys, so 2 different colorway, very easy to make bracelet. So should we get started? I will take this off because actually in order to make the bracelet, we are going to just wrap our leather around our wrist. And it's actually a very intuitive project, and you will see in just a moment exactly why. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my length of braided leather, and mine, I already cut it a little shorter than your kits, but please know that in your kits you have enough leather for just a little bit over a 9-inch wrist. So for most of you, you will need to trim the leather. So this is, to me, this is the most practical way to do this, rather than measuring your wrist and then measuring the leather. We're actually doing 2 in 1. So hopefully I can hold on to this just with my one hand. This is probably the most difficult part of the bracelet, just holding onto the leather and wrapping.
Sabrina says hello. Good evening, Irina and Tony.
Hi, Sabrina, and good evening to you. I'm so glad you joined us. So this is how I cut my leather. I wrapped it around my wrist, and remember, yours is going to be quite a bit longer, so quite a bit easier to hold on to. And you're going to want to trim it so that it's pretty snug around your wrist. So you can see this is very snug around, well, actually it could be a little bit more snug. So let's see if we can get there. Okay, so I'm just, and it doesn't matter if we're going to overlap a little bit. So I'm making it pretty snug because I know that it's going to get longer. So it looks like I could even trim a little bit more. So just, just for the purposes of the demo, let's cut another 1/4 inch.
Kim K says happy Thursday to everyone.
Hi, Kim, and happy Thursday to you, my friend. Okay, guys, so now if I were to wrap this around my wrist, it would fit very snugly. So probably too snug for a bracelet, but that's okay because we know that by adding findings, so let me show you. By adding findings, first of all, we're adding about 1/2 inch on this side, and then we are adding a 3¼ inch extender on the other side. So it's probably going to even be a little bit too much for most people. So we can also trim the extender if we wanted to, but we can decide that later. So as I mentioned, I start out just by cutting the leather to a length that's going to wrap around my wrist 3 times and be very snug. And of course, it's preference as well. So if you prefer to be a little bit more loose, you can do that as well. So now we are going to start with the ands. And I'm holding a very skinny little wire. It's 28 gauge wire. And in my dominant hand, I have my chain nose pliers. And you see how the leather is a little bit wide, and I'm going to just give it a nice little smush. And the reason I'm doing that is because I am giving it a better shape in order to fit into this pinch end. So most of the time I use 4mm pinch ends, and I believe this one is a 6mm pinch end, or maybe 5mm pinch end. But my point is that it's a slightly larger one that I normally use because I want it to fit over my leather. So as you can see, I gave this a little smushy. And so now I am going to wrap the end of the leather around with the wire. So because I really like my jewelry to last, I don't want to lose the finding and then lose the bracelet. We're making this as solid as we possibly can by wrapping a piece of wire around the end. And as you can see, I just start by twisting with my hands. And then in order to tighten this little twist a little bit, I'm also going to use my flat nose pliers and make that little twist just a little bit tighter and trim the twist, leaving, maybe about 3mm, not a whole lot. And we'll just make sure that this little twist is in line with the rest of the leather. And now we're about to do the very same thing on the other end of the braided leather. So some people will just use glue with the pinch ends, and that seems to be okay too. But you know, I really like this little wire. For me, it's like having a little bit of insurance, and just making sure that everything lasts for many, many years to come. So again, we're going to give this a little twist. And, you know, I'm just going to cut some of this wire off. It's too long for me to comfortably work with. And this is 28 gauge wire again. And for me, you know, I always talk about dead soft wire, half hard wire. So definitely you're going to want to work with dead soft wire on this one. And the brand, so when you buy base metal wire, I know I've said this many times, so pardon the redundancy, but I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. So unfortunately, when you purchase base metal wire, it's not going to be labeled as dead soft and half hard. And frankly, myself, I would not use sterling wire for this or gold filled. There's just no point. It's going to be covered up. But it really helps to get to know the brands. And the brand on this one is Artistic Wire. It looks like this. Well, maybe it looks a little bit less messy than mine does, but Artistic Wire does a really good job for this purpose. And we do have it in the Etsy shop. We have it in the Etsy shop, I believe, in multiple finishes.
Karen says, good evening, finally able to join you live.
Good evening, Karen, and thank you so much for joining us live. We love it when you guys watch live, you know? I mean, I know that not everybody's able to watch live, and I know that many people watch later, especially since sometimes they will buy the kit much later than it comes out. And of course, these videos serve as my directions for the kits. There are no printed directions for any of my kits at this point. So these videos are my directions. And, you know, I know they're very informal, but I hope that works. So what I'm doing right now is I'm opening up this little pinch end with my pliers, with my chain nose pliers. And I like doing that because it just makes it so much easier to put my leather into the pinch end. I feel like it fits that much further into the pinch end. So for anybody who has never seen this pinch end, let me show you guys. When you look at each little petal, you see how there are 4 petals? On the inside of each one of these little petals, there's a little bump, a little prong. And that little prong, when we squeeze all the little petals together, all the little prongs are going to grab onto the wire. So that is the purpose for the wire. And even if they don't grab onto the wire, depending on the wire placement, the wire serves as a barrier so that the finding does not slide off the leather. Okay, so now we are just going to open our glue, and I use the super new glue that works very well for this purpose. And I think I'm going to put the glue, and you know, I always have a piece of paper. So here's my little piece of paper just in case if I'm a little bit messy. And I like putting the glue on the leather rather than inside, or sometimes actually I will put it inside the finding. But for this, it just seems more practical to put it on the leather, because then we have a little bit more control as far as where the glue goes. And now I'm going to use my flat nose pliers to close the pinch end. So you see how I'm just using my flat nose, and I do one pair of petals, and then I do the other pair of petals. And when I'm done, it just looks like a little bell, like a little end cap. So this is what it looks like.
Jane says, good evening, everyone, from Mineral Bluff, North Georgia.
Oh, good evening, Jane from Georgia. So what is the weather like in Georgia?
Allie says, because I'm an elementary teacher, I watch your Friday morning videos on Saturday mornings. Nice way to get the day started with my coffee and tea.
Oh, yay! Thank you so much. I love hearing that. I just love that. All right, guys. So I have already opened up this wonderful little bead cap. Or pinch end rather, looks like a bead cap. And we'll do the same step one more time. And I'm just making sure that I get the glue on all of the sides. This is a really nice glue. It's one of my favorite glues whenever I'm looking for something that's non-gap filling. I use Super New Glue. That works very well for jewelry. So I'm just using my flat nose pliers again to close the sides of the pinch end, and it just looks like a little tulip. It's just really kind of minimal, and it fits in most designs. I love it. So now we are going to well, actually, you know what? We're going to put the findings on. So I don't need the piece of paper anymore. The paper is a good idea just in case if you get a little messy. So I always have a little piece of paper, especially when I use a Super New Glue, because please be careful, you guys, when you use a Super New Glue. Oh, and I just, you know what? I just realized there's one thing I forgot. I forgot the 15O seed beads. Because here, I'm going to show you where they go. It's part of the pattern. You know, it's almost like, not every time, but almost every time I have to forget one thing. Well, I guess it just sort of makes me human, right? As you can see, there are these little seed beads. They're very tiny and lovely and minimal. And I actually use these seed beads quite often, either as a little spacer or filler. They are metal seed beads. And what's really nice about using metal seed beads is that they're not going to break if you apply a little bit more pressure. And of course, I really like that little bit of a metal gleam. So Tony was so nice. He just brought me the seed beads. And so let's pour out some seed beads, and here they are.
Jane says the weather is starting to cool, but very pleasant.
Oh, yay. And are the colors beautiful? We want to hear about the colors, because I think in Wisconsin, we're all about the colors. I have this amazing, just amazing sugar maple tree. Wait, what is a sugar maple? I think it's a sugar maple. It's a maple, you guys. I know there's so many different maples.
They make maple syrup out of sugar maples.
Yes, no, I believe it is a sugar maple. And it is so gorgeous. It's literally right outside of my office window, and it gives me so much joy. Okay, guys, so we're going to attach the findings as the next step. And I will, of course, you know, you can do this first, you can do this last. But the reason I like to do this first is because I'm literally going to put the bracelet on my wrist, And then we are going to use a really fun little shortcut to mark the spacing for our embellishment. And you're going to want to hear that little click just like we did. And so I just attached the lobster claw on one end. I've been using a lot of lobster claw clasps lately. You know, they're just so practical, especially for bracelets. I love them. You cannot lose your bracelet with a nice lobster claw. And you know, I think I am actually going to trim maybe like 1 inch off the extender chain because, you know, for a bracelet, I don't think we need this long of an extender chain. I left the length, the entire length of, I think it's 3¼ inches, and you most certainly can. But if you feel like it, you can make it a little shorter. And there's our little click. We want to close the jump ring really nice and snug. Okay, so now that we have attached our findings, I'm actually going to put this on. And believe it or not, this is part of the process of planning our embellishment. Well, again, this is always the hardest thing to do. And since Tony is holding the camera, I'm attempting to do this all one-handed. Okay, so maybe we need to move this a little bit. Okay, guys. All right, so I may actually need a little help from Tony. Okay, can you hold this for me? All right, so yeah, just hold on to the whole thing. You know, it does not seem this awkward when I do it by myself. But then, of course, there's no camera involved, and there's always some other obstacle when there's a camera. And thank you, Tony.
My pleasure.
Yay. All right, so now that I have this on my wrist, I am just going to use a Sharpie. And don't worry, you're not going to be able to see the Sharpie marks. So however you want to space your embellishment, you can, you don't have to space it exactly like I do, although you could. So really, whatever it is that you want to see when you're looking at your wrist, this is obviously the top of the bracelet. This is the back of the bracelet. So, just think about what would make you happy. So I think right now what would make me happy is, on a different day, maybe it's something else that would make me happy. So, but right now I'm going to put a little Sharpie mark right there on in the center of my center wrap. And then I am going to put another Sharpie mark right here, maybe 1 inch on one of the side wraps, 1 inch away from the center, and one more. And, I think I might just leave it as is for now. I can always go back and add more, right? But I think I might make this a little bit more minimal. And you do have extra beads in your kit, so you can embellish a little bit more densely, or you can make it a little bit more spare. And, sometimes less is more. So right now I'm going for less. So now that I have marked my leather, I am going to take the bracelet off. And the first thing I'm going to do is find my first Sharpie mark.
Sabrina says, my son Albert is sitting here with me. He says hello to all.
Oh, yay. Hi, Albert. It's so nice that you joined us today. All right, guys. So this is our first mark. And embellishing. So let me show you what we're about to do. So this is the type of embellishing I'm talking about. So this is my little bit of embellishment that goes right in the center. And in a minute, I'm going to address why these are so minimal, why some are bigger, why some are smaller. But, let's just get started first. So I'm going to be using the same wire, and I think I'm going to start right from the center. So I'm going to pick up one of these really fun fall colored turquoise, not delicas.
Tylas.
Tylas, thank you, Tony. I don't know. I think we were talking about delicas in the store today, and they were just kind of stuck in my head. So I picked up a Tyla, and the reason I'm saying they're really fun turquoise colored delicas is because, they're actually not delicas, Tylas. They're Picasso Tylas, and anybody who is not familiar with Tylas, Tylas are beads with two holes. They're flat beads. So what's really wonderful about working with Tylas for a project like this is that they're going to sit really nice and flat on your leather. And I'm going to move this over just a little bit just to cover up that little Sharpie mark that I left, so that nobody will ever know, except of course for you guys. This is our little secret, that there's a Sharpie mark underneath this Tyla. So I wrapped the Tyla through both beads. You can see both beads, both holes rather. And in order to make this really nice and stable and hold exactly where I place it, I'm actually going to go through each hole one more time. So we're just going through each hole one more time like this. And I'm going to do the same with the remaining hole. Of course, that's going in the opposite direction. And so what is really, and I know I'm holding right over my Tyla, so it's hard to see, but that is kind of the process, you guys. So what I love about this project and the leather and the Tylas is that they're exactly the same width. So that made it very easy to design this bracelet. It just seems to be, the two are just kind of made for one another. So now we're going to continue to embellish. And next, I am going to go around the leather, and once I get to the top, I am simply going to pick up 3 little seed beads.
Betty is wondering if they're actual turquoise beads.
Oh, Betty, thank you so much for asking. No, they're not actual turquoise. Tylas are made out of glass. They are a really wonderful bead. In fact, I have made so many different bracelets with Tyla beads. But yes, they're made out of glass, and they have this great, very natural looking finish where you would think that they're turquoise, but no. And so next I am going to pick up a bugle bead, and the bugle bead is kind of a beige color, and it also, if you look really closely, it too has a little bit of a Picasso finish. So we don't have the exact color, we have a very complementary color, and we have that nice continuity of that very natural Picasso finish.
Allie says, nice way to use extra tiles in my stash.
Yes, Allie, absolutely. This is a good way to use those up. Okay, guys, and now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm just going to pick up my seed beads. These are, again, 15O seed beads. And we need 3 of them for this row. And I'm just going to move them so that they're right on top of the leather. And you can see that I'm giving it a little bit of a pull. I'm making it nice and snug. And I'm going to move a little closer to the camera so that you can see. I know this is very dainty. And now I'm going to pick up one more bugle and place the bugle on top of the leather and go through the bugle once more.
Allie says, these remind me of your mini boho stacker bracelets from last spring.
You know what? Yes, Allie, you're so right. This is really quite similar. Different leather though, but I know exactly what you mean. It's kind of the same idea, but that was not braided leather, so this is just a slightly different look. So now I have created my little mini pattern here, and we're going to, so again, I'm pointing out that I went through the tila through each hole twice, and I also did the same for the bugle beads. It just makes it a little bit more stable. And now I am going to coil around the last 2 wire coils. I know it's a bit confusing because I'm calling these coils, I don't know what else to call them, you guys, but I'm going to make this little tiny mini coil around these coils that we're seeing right now. So I'm using my chain nose pliers and just kind of digging into the leather just a little bit. And I'm going to do that on both sides. And you know, it's not like you really must do this, but I'm doing this to make it a little bit easier for myself to sneak in underneath the wire like this. So otherwise you might have a little bit of a hard time. So I'm going to make this very clear that I'm not stretching the wire out. I'm not really doing a whole lot with the wire, but instead I'm almost like making a little bit of indentation in the leather to make it easy to create these little tiny coils, and they're really going to be very, very minimal. So all I'm doing is just making 3 tiny coils like that, and I'm just about ready to cut off the excess wire like this. And when you do, make sure you leave just a little bit of a tail. Do you guys see the little tail? I hope you see the little tail. There's just like maybe 1 millimeter of wire sticking out, and I'm going to place my chain nose pliers right on that little tail and push the tail underneath so that it's sticking into the leather and not out towards you. Because, of course, we're not making a torture device. We are making jewelry.
Kim K says, does the leather come in other colors? It would be a fun way to design for the holidays and different seasons.
You know, that's a really nice idea. I love that. The leather, unfortunately, does not come in many colors. I'm going to look into some of the other colors that the leather comes in, but I know that when we were ordering, and by the way, I'm doing the same on the other side. When we were ordering, we had some nice color choices, but they were quite limited. So I'm really not sure that the leather comes in holiday colors. I was actually hoping many years ago we had something very similar in a pearly white. And of course, before I finish that, of course, you did see the other option. So this is really more of a summary option, but really, you guys, I could not help myself. I had to do this option because I absolutely adore this shade of turquoise, and I felt that that would be a really good alternate. And so my dream was to get that pearly white back in, but unfortunately, they don't make that anymore. So there are not a lot of color choices.
Helen says, hi all, very late. I was on my iPad, but it kept freezing, so she's on her PC now.
Oh, yay! Well, I'm so glad you joined us, even just for a short time. That makes me very, very happy. I love it when you guys are watching live because, I'm a people person. It really makes me happy when I can talk to you live. It makes me feel like I'm not talking to myself, which, of course, sometimes I do that. We all do that sometimes, but I prefer talking to you guys. Okay, so this at this point is really on there. It's really wrapped on, and it's definitely not going anywhere. This is what it looks like on the back. And I'm actually not even going to do any more demoing of how to wrap because really it is all the same. Literally, it's all exactly the same. So again, you mark your leather with a Sharpie, and then you just place your tilas right over that little Sharpie mark and you hide it. And you can create a pattern however you want to. So let me share how I created a pattern on my sample. Okay, so I just want to share a little strategy, just so that you can do the same or you can do it differently, but at least you are aware of some of the things that are going to come up as you are creating your bracelet.
Kim K says, oh, I missed the blue.
Oh, I'm so glad I showed it again. Well, you know what? I was going to show it at the very end anyway, so you are not going to miss out. I would have made certain of that.
And Randy says it could be a winter blue.
You know what? It could be a winter blue, especially, if you wear something blue for the holidays. It's a little bit metallic, so it's a bit dressy, the blue. And so, yeah, it could work.
And Helen says, thank you, love your lives, and always miss them.
Oh, thank you so much, Helen. Well, you did not miss it this time, unless you meant the other miss. So anyway, so let me just share the placement strategy, my placement strategy. Again, your placement strategy could be completely different. So when I'm not actually going to mark because obviously it's already done, but when I was marking my leather for the embellishment placement, so I did the center first, then I did the sides. So then I took it off and I did all of the wrapping. But then when I looked at where my embellishment is, it turned out that I had a couple of, well, actually, hold on, not taking it off just yet. It turned out that I had a couple of gaps in the, maybe I should take it off. It will make more sense once I take it off. So once I wrapped exactly where I marked, I had a couple of gaps. So the gaps were between the center bead and the side beads. And when the bracelet is on, it looked really nice and it made me happy. But then once I took it off, it almost looked like something was missing. So these are the little bit of embellishment that I did almost kind of as a fill-in. And the reason I'm saying a fill-in is because I didn't want to have the same exact pattern, because it's literally right here on the side of my wrist where you cannot see it. So I kind of did this for the aesthetic. Uh, if it makes any sense at all, you guys, I don't know, maybe it's just a little bit silly. But for the aesthetic, when the bracelet is not on my wrist, then it still looks nice. It looks like nothing is missing. And because these little pieces of embellishment are so minimal, they're just not going to bother me on the bottom of my wrist, because for me, it's a lot about comfort. And again, this is so comfortable to wear because the leather is flat. And of course, the more you, I mean, it's fairly supple anyway, but the more you wear it, you know how it is with leather, it's just going to get even softer. So I love this.
Randy says ice blue with crystals.
You know, it could be. This could actually be ice blue. You know, it's funny that you should mention that, because I was thinking about designing some kind of an icy sort of necklace for the holidays. Something icy and blingy. But guess what? I'm just going to move some of these beads. We are actually done with this project. It's a pretty quick project. Well, of course, it's a little longer because you'll have to do a little bit more embellishing. But it goes very quickly. And for me, these types of projects where there's a little bit of repetition, they're very meditative and fun, and I love working on them.
Lorraine says very pretty.
Thank you so much, Lorraine. So these are already in the Etsy shop. And I do have a question for you guys before I do my preview for next week. I have a question. So every once in a while, somebody will contact us and ask, how do I get the kit before the video so that I can work on the kit along with you, along with the video. And, you know, right now we're really not set up for that. But, and you probably know why we're not set up for that, because we don't actually have the link to the video until the video has aired. So, my question to you, my friends, is, would it be helpful if we figured out a way to do this so that you can get the kit before the video or after the video? Because certainly they're not going to go away after the video, but we could make it happen. However, you will not be getting a link to the video if we do it so that you can order pre-video. So I would love to hear from you, because your input is so important to me. I mean, this is literally how we make decisions. And as you know, you have given me so much wonderful advice on what to do next. And so I would really appreciate some feedback.
Trudy says love both.
Thank you so much, Trudy.
Amy says both colors are great.
Thank you so much, Amy. So, well, maybe, you know, ponder it for a moment. And while you're pondering and giving me your suggestion, I will do a little preview of what we are making next week. So this is what we're making. It is, yes, you probably recognized the shakere technique. And you remember, I've been saying one of these days, I'm going to create a totally different shakere necklace. So this is the one. So this is my totally different shakere necklace. This is a little bit more dressy, given that we're approaching the holidays. This is just a little bit more dramatic, more dressy. There's a little bit of bling here. And the other thing that makes this different, other than the tassel, of course, which you cannot miss, it's a very long tassel, which you can make it this long or you can make it shorter. But also, this is not interchangeable. I know my shakere necklaces were so popular. Everybody loved them. And in fact, we still have a couple in the Etsy shop. So we're still making those. But since, I've been excited about these necklaces and you guys have loved these necklaces, I made one that's completely different. So you could make this non-interchangeable, but if you really had to, you could add a smart bead and still make it interchangeable because you probably already know how from the previous videos. But the technique here, at least the starting of the necklace, is completely different. So what do you guys think?
Fonda says, I love both colors.
Thank you so much, Fonda.
And Cheryl says, I still enjoy watching the video first, and it helps that the link is in the kit when I create it months later.
Oh, yay. To be perfectly honest, I do like that because I want you to have the link, unless we do it in such a way that if you pre-order before the video, knowing that you're not getting the link, you won't get the link. You'll just have to write down the link when you watch the video, or you can order it after the video, and then, well, not after, but like, for example, you can order it today, or you could even before it aired. But what that means is when you're getting the finished kit, the link will be in it. So that is still going to be an option.
Jane says, everything is gorgeous.
Thank you so much, Jane.
Allie says, wow, that is a fantastic necklace, standout piece.
Oh, yay, thank you so much.
Fonda says, I can't wait for next week's video.
Thank you, Fonda. Me too.
Amy says, I like to watch the video first. I'm okay. I think I like to watch the video first. I'm okay either way you do it.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that feedback.
And Fonda says, I prefer to watch the video first. I like the link in the kit.
You know what? That's really nice for me to know, because what I'm really trying to decide is, are these people, and of course their opinion is valid as well, but we're trying to figure out, are they outliers? Are they the majority? Are we doing okay the way we are? Can we do better? Can we make this more exciting? How can we do that? Of course, if you guys ever think of how we can make this even more exciting, please let us know. But in the meantime, I really appreciate your responses. As far as what you guys just said, it lets me know that maybe we don't have to change anything at this time. That at least, that's what I'm getting from your responses. So in the meantime, guys, tomorrow I am going to be doing a shopping event, and this is going to be an exploration of fall colors with gemstones part 2. But actually, there's just a little bit more. There's going to be a little bling in tomorrow's shopping event. There's some really cute little necklaces that just came in. They came sooner than we expected, so I got a little excited. Nobody has even seen them in the store yet. And so I got excited about those, and you guys are going to see them first. And so I'm including them in tomorrow's video, so please join me for that. And then, of course, next Thursday, we're doing the shakere, the tassel shakere necklace that you're seeing right here in front of me. And this is going to be Thursday, October 19th, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on my jewelry design page. And again, next Friday, there will be another shopping event. And I think I have a really fun surprise for you. But it's something that we're expecting to get this Monday. So I'm just going to keep it to myself just in case, you know how it is sometimes with deliveries, but hoping that it arrives on Monday. And then that's pretty much going to be the theme of our next Friday's event. So in the meantime, tomorrow, October 13th, I'm hoping to see you for part 2 of the fall colors.
Allie says, love the format you have.
Thank you so much, Ellie.
Karen says, thank you for another great design. Good night, everyone.
Thank you so much, Karen, and you have a wonderful evening.
Amy says, thank you. Another great project.
Thank you, Amy, and thank you so much, everybody, for watching. I really enjoyed sharing the braided boho bracelet with you guys. I can't wait for next Thursday to do the shakerade. We'll have a great time. In the meantime, have a wonderful and creative evening.